So it's all about looking at, I suppose, primarily water quality, greenhouse gas emissions, but the regulations that we have in Ireland versus other countries. So a particular note is the Netherlands. I'm delighted to be joined by Auko Sikenja, who's a dairy farmer from Holland. In the middle then is John Murphy. John is the chair of IFA Environmental Committee. And then Corrigan Sauman is over to my immediate left, my far left, and Corrigan is a dairy farmer from New Zealand, well versed in the industry, former consulting officer, and currently also the chair of LIC, the large farming breeding company in New Zealand. So we have a few slides come on in a few minutes, but before we're waiting for those to come up, maybe Auko, just explain a little bit about yourself, where you're from in the Netherlands, your own background, and the number of cows you're milking and who you're working with.
Yeah, am I on actually?
Yeah, you're fine.
Good, I can't hear myself. Hi guys, well thanks for having me. My name is Auko and my wife and I, we farm in the northern part of Holland. We're running about 110 dairy cows on 75 hectares. And then we're second location, my parents farm together with my brother and sister. Another 200 cows on 140 hectares. Whereas my parents were organic for 15 years and they just switched back to conventional this spring. My wife and I were conventional back from 2017 when we started, and we've always been aiming, well, the region where we are, land prices are high, and the way we look at it, our solution is to gain high production. Last year we averaged 10,500 with 4 fat, 3/6 protein, or 840 milk solids, if you prefer it that way.
Okay, yeah. So high production.
High production,
yeah.
High input, high output.
Typical Dutch system.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, Corrigan, for yourself then, your own background, where you're farming, number of cows, who you're working with.
Yeah, thanks Aidan. So we've got a spring calving, block calving dairy farm in Golden Bay, which is northwest of Nelson, on the top of the South Island. Calve around 750-ish cows there. Milking on around 450 hectares, self-contained. My background, I started 20 years ago as a consulting officer in the sector. Have been working on farm now, family farm, for about 17 years in a partnership with my brother. Had quite an interest in this environmental space. Deputy chair of the Dairy Environment Leaders Network in New Zealand for some years. So did a lot of work, and I've just spent 4 years with Fonterra working with them in environmental sustainability strategies. So we'll probably talk to a few of these questions today.
Yeah.
Aidan.
Good. So John, then you're farming as well, obviously yourself, and not too far away from here.
Yeah, I'm farming in Dripsey. I took over the environmental chair in January for the Irish Farmers Association. I was on the committee for the previous 4 years, so I was involved a good bit in the previous year and going down from the 250 down to 220 in the derogation. That was difficult for us. I wasn't involved in 2022 when the previous NAP was negotiated, and I suppose we're just looking ahead here now to what's going to happen in 2025. We're going to have a new NAP, and there's a lot of concern about it, I suppose. And I have a few slides, but they didn't see.
When you say the NAP, you mean the nitrates action?
Yeah, it's out to public consultation at the minute. It's to close on the 4th of December, and we're promised that will be over the line by the 31st of the year, so it can be brought in this year. Things like changes to the calf excretion rate, changes to the female and male excretion rate, and changes to the protein levels in ration. And it is really important that gets over the line for the end of the year, because farmers that are coming down from 250 to 220 need as much help as possible to achieve that this year.
Yeah.
So we've been pushing hard for that.
Okay. So we have a couple of slides. I think, are we ready to go with them?
We're just working on them.
You have them there though.
Claude is coming with the hands.
Okay, so we'll wait. We'll give us a shout when they're ready. John, in the meantime, look, you're just going to go through water quality and some of those trends. We'll come back to them. So
yeah.
I'm going to move to the two overseas guys first. I'll go a little bit about what's happening in the Netherlands. We're all hearing that derogation is going. There's only 1 year left in it.
Yep.
What impact is that going to have on your own farm? And what's the cost of compliance?
Well, cutting corners, same like some areas in Ireland with derogation, we're allowed to do 250 kilos nitrogen. Without, we will be at 170. This year we were at 220. Next year we'll be at 190. Well, the gap between 250 and 170, that's 80 kilos of nitrogen. In the Dutch system, it equals 20 metric tons. Last year, prices were roughly 25 euros per ton to export your manure. So you do the maths, that's like 500 euros per hectare. Or if you look at an average dairy farm, 100 cows, 50 hectares, times 500 euros. There you go, you're 25,000 euros. Just to get rid of the manure.
For your 110 cows.
Yeah, we're looking at roughly 25,000.
Yeah. So it's a substantial cost. And where's that slurry going to? Where's that manure going to?
Most of the slurry right now is going to, we're on the edge of grassland and cropland. So our slurry goes to crop farmers. That's where most of it goes, and right now they're talking, well, you probably heard about it too, like the Renure system. There are systems that they're able to take the nitrogen out of the manure and make a concentrate out of it. And right now they're trying to get it registered as a replacement for fertilizer. So you process your own manure, your manure that you otherwise had to export.
But is that a solution now? Because I've seen some of those. They're very expensive to run and very expensive to purchase.
Well, there you go. It's expensive to run. Like return of investment, if you're milking like 400 cows, you're looking at a couple of years.
Yeah.
If you're milking 100 cows, it's a different deal.
Yeah. But I suppose one of the key differentiations, and John will say this as well, is that you have the manure that you can export.
Yeah,
your cows are, you are doing some grazing.
Yeah, we do. Unless like your Irish guys, we graze. Well, if it's 6 months a year, every year, I'd sign for it right away. Winters are too wet.
Yeah.
Can't graze during winter time, but a good part of it, at least we have manure to export. I do know a couple of Dutch farmers who apply the Irish and the New Zealand system. They graze as much as possible. Yes, they have manure left to export, but no, they have no manure left to use on their own fields.
The feeling among farmers over there towards the changes in regulation. So we've seen, obviously, the derogation is one aspect of it. You discussed earlier on in another session this morning the new rules around farming close to mature sites, especially areas of conservation, and the government are buying out some of those farmers. So what's the mood like in the Netherlands towards government, towards regulation, and the freedom to farm?
Well, like you guys were having a good price for milk, and we had a really sweet fall.
Yeah.
So that sets the mood. That set a good mood. If it comes toward the government, farmers find it hard to trust the government at the moment. Like the previous government, it's been pretty much the same group of political parties for 14 years in a row. And that set the mood, not in a good way. Right now there's this one farmers party, they're in the government, but we're just 4 months down the road. It's hard.
The BBB, we all heard.
BBB.
Yeah.
Like, they do their best, but you can't turn it around in 4 months. So we'll see where things go.
Okay. Corrigan, same question to yourself. What's the mood like among farmers? What has been the key regulation changes in New Zealand over the last couple of years?
The mood's okay in New Zealand. There was a particularly difficult 6 years with a Labour Green government in New Zealand, so a centre left. A lot of regulation coming at farmers, which was not practical, and not feasible to kind of implement. What we're seeing now, we've shifted to a centre-right coalition government. A bit of a deep breath and a chance to kind of pause for farmers. A lot of that regulation that was coming at us has actually been put on hold. But
and is that on hold for good, or is it going to come back in?
No, I think it's still coming.
Yeah.
But a realisation it has to be practical. So the sorts of things that are coming at New Zealand dairy farmers, or and New Zealand farmers full stop right now, are farm environment plans, quite detailed, probably much like what you've got here, which really understanding the system, understanding what's surplus, understanding where those surpluses are going. I think probably the contrasting thing from what I've heard today in New Zealand is that our milk processors are probably leading the shift on farm around environmental change harder than I'm hearing it's happening here.
Okay.
And so I'd say the market's probably forcing what we do ahead of regulation right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Do we have those slides?